The nature of how and where we work has changed significantly through the years, certainly since the COVID pandemic. But is work something we do only because we have to? Or do we gain something more from the jobs we hold? It's the question studied extensively by the professor of labor and employment relations, Robert Bruno, at the University of Illinois, culminating in a new book. The book is called What Work Is, and it comes out on Tuesday. Author Bob Bruno joins me this morning in our WGN studios, fellow Illini, so go Illini.
Yes, absolutely. Good to be here, Paul. Thank you.
So, Bob, the first instinct when people see this is they may remember a book written by Studs Terkel literally 50 years ago. It's the anniversary about working and how people did it. Was that an inspiration for you? And his book became a musical. What about yours?
Yeah, well, I don't know where my book would go, but boy, a musical would be a wonderful thing to see. And by the way, thank you for connecting me in any way, referencing me to Studs Terkel, because he's a legend and the master. Studs worked a little differently than I did, but both of us certainly based our work on talking to workers. And so while he wasn't immediately in my mind when I started this work, in spirit and inspiration, he was connected to every interview that I did. So,
and your work's been going on for years, so I'm curious, you write in the book that work is not going away, but it certainly is changing. Where we work, the COVID pandemic, working at home, the nature of what we do, the gig economy. How did all that sort of influence the book from the beginning to the present?
Well, right. Well, in talking to workers, I was very much interested in how they were experiencing their work. And as you point out, yes, there's certainly been a lot of change in the technology we use, where we work, how we're identified as employees. But very interestingly, at the core, work was being experienced in very stable ways, ways that I think cross generations. That is really quite historical. So it's kind of an oddity. You see change and yet stability at the core and how work is experienced.
And we're seeing changes in Chicago and Illinois regarding a minimum wage, regarding personal days that were allowed off. Do those kinds of things influence how people view their jobs?
Well, absolutely they do, because one of the strong themes that grew out of these conversations was that work leaves an impact on your life. And it's both good and it's bad. And how you can manage your time, how you balance it with your non-work life, all of these things have an impact on how you interpret your work and experience it. So if you can take some time off and it doesn't jeopardize your job and you can be compensated, well, that's going to affect the way in which you experience work.
The book defines the various components of work. Let me just touch base on some of them. You talk about that we measure work in time, which you write is fleeting. And my question is, work also has a timeless dimension. So, I mean, do we do work for our own good? Is there more to it than just the paycheck?
Yeah, one of the other major themes that becomes a focused chapter is the purpose which we work, and yes, we work for lots of extrinsic material benefits because we have to, so there's a kind of compulsion to work to survive, but also for intrinsic benefits. People work and they look for meaning in their life. They look for satisfaction. They look for accomplishment. They look for happiness. So it is both extrinsic and intrinsic reasons why we work.
You talk about who benefits from the work we do. Again, we think of the paycheck, things like that, but who benefits from the work we do?
You know, certainly you and I, when we work, we get a paycheck. It helps us to meet our material needs. That's critical. But we work for the people we love. We work for our immediate family. But we work for the community at large. Workers talked about working on behalf of the country, working on behalf of the nation. You know, I had a good cup of coffee today, Paul, and economists have said it took about 1,000 workers for me to get that cup of coffee. They don't know me. I don't know them. But that cup of coffee meant a lot to me, and it may have even had a good physical consequence. So there's all this interconnection. Interesting enough, what workers almost never said was that they worked for the boss. They never named the employer, the name on the paycheck, but they worked for this web of other human beings that builds a world.
And they still can't get the name right on the cup. So you do bring family into this. You actually end the book. I don't mean to give it away, but in the end, you talk about your dad, and you mentioned what he said, resonating with you. Work is doing what I had to do. My dad felt the same way. Do people feel that way today?
Yeah, and they most certainly do. And they really speak with these two powerful voices that really aren't contradictory. I mean, I think they're really integrated. Yes, they talk about having aspirations and goals, and they get satisfaction from the work they do, but they also are very realistic in understanding that if they don't work, life is hard, life is short, life is brutish. A good job, a job that helps them make it from point A to point B, makes a significant difference in the life that they experience. And there's not a good alternative to it unless you're part of that really, really small percentage of people that doesn't actually have to work for a living.
So what you did was you asked certainly a lot of college students. Everything we know in life is based on the experience of the average college student. But that being said, it was fill in the blank. Work is what? And you got about 6 words to do it.
Yeah.
That's what basis. But let me just ask you as we sort of wrap, you fill it in. Work is what?
You know, I have done this exercise so many times for thousands of workers for so many years, and rarely does a student say to me, hey, Professor, how would you answer? So I probably have answered it in different ways in my own mind when I think about it, but how I answer you today is that work is a way that I serve. And maybe that's a product of age. I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and I now want to give back. And I know you're a very generous person yourself, but I feel like my work is a way of giving back, of saying thank you, showing some gratitude. So it's a form of service.
Wow, that's really good. To the community, to the society.
Yeah.
We are getting older. All right. The book again is called What Work Is by Bob Bruno. It comes out Tuesday. Be sure you get it. And congratulations on great work.
Thank you, Paul.
Another
You're very
Illini
kind.
accomplishment. We're going to take one more break and a look at the week ahead when we come back.